If you're good to go, Tony, if you and I are ready to go, I think Mark is unavailable due to a prior commitment. So I'll be acting chair today. So with that, the Board of Selectmen meeting for September 20th, 2023 is now in session at 6:33 p.m. See, we have some of our usual announcements. I can do those. Opening comments. The compost area is open on Wednesdays and Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. A 2023 resident parking sticker is required. Visit Public Works page at nahant.org for a full list of acceptable material. Recycling for metal, white goods, TVs, computers is the last Saturday of each month until October 28th from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. noon behind the DPW garage on Flash Road. 2023 resident sticker is required. Visit Public Works Department at nahant.org for accepted materials. Certain fees may apply. Curbside leaf pickup begins in October. Every Monday except Columbus Day. The week of Columbus Day, the bags will be picked up on Tuesday, October 11th. Leaves must be in biodegradable bags only. No open barrels, roots, root balls, or branches bigger than 4 inches in diameter. Bags must be out by 7 a.m. Market by the Sea, formerly the Nahant Farmers Market, is Saturdays, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Flash Road on October 14th. So that should say Saturday, 10 to 1 on October 14th at Flash Road. For more information or become a vendor, visit the market page at nahant.org or email ktaylor@nahant.org. Next up is tax classification hearing. Well, before we move to that, Gene, did you have any additional opening comments?
No, I'm good.
Okay, and neither do I. So the next item on the agenda is the tax classification hearing with the Board of Assessors. We're going to vote to approve a single tax rate, vote on exceptions, and the Board of Assessors will announce the excess levy capacity. So if there's a separate.
Thank you. Move to open the hearing.
Yeah.
Did you make the motion? Did you make the motion to open the hearing?
I have not yet. Let me do that. Hang on one second. I move that the Board of Selectmen with the Board of Assessors open the FY 2024 tax classification hearing.
Second.
Okay, so the hearing is now open. I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to approve a residential factor of 1 and not adopt the following: a residential exemption, a small commercial exemption, a senior means tested exemption, and to not grant a discount for open space for fiscal year 2024. And that the assessors have informed the board that the excess levy capacity for the current fiscal year is calculated as $4,138.66.
Second the motion.
Excuse me, Josh. I think we also need to do a roll call. At least I have that on my agenda. I just want to make sure we don't miss anything.
Yeah.
The roll call on the previous motion, yes.
Right. I guess we didn't actually vote on that. So is there any discussion on the motion that opened the
Hearing.
the classification hearing? Any discussion on that, Gene? I don't have any.
No.
Okay, so with no discussion, all in favor, roll call vote.
Gene Canty, aye.
Josh Antrim, aye. Okay,
A roll call vote for the Board of Assessors, David Hunt, yes.
Catherine Sherber, aye.
And Town Assessor Sheila Hamilton, aye.
Okay.
Josh.
okay. So now we are in the discussion phase of the second motion, which was the residential factor of 1, the list of exemptions that we're not adopting, and the assessor's fiscal.
Josh, could you reread that again?
Yeah, it's probably the cleanest thing to do. Okay, I'm gonna remake the motion. I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to approve a residential factor of 1 and not adopt the following: a residential exemption, a small commercial exemption, a senior means tested exemption, and to not grant a discount for open space for fiscal year 2024. And that the assessors have informed the board that the excess levy capacity for the current fiscal year is calculated as $4,138.66.
Seconded.
Okay, any discussion on this motion?
Yes, so this motion represents the same practice that the town of Nahant goes through on an annual basis. A residential factor of 1 essentially means, and Sheila, feel free to.
Yeah,
Why
you
don't I
want-
let you, Sheila, why don't I let you take this, actually?
All right. Every year, you're right, Tony, that the Board of Selectmen holds a public hearing to determine the percentage of the town's property tax levy to be borne by each major property class. This responsibility and these responsibilities and procedures are described in Chapter 40, Section 56 of the Massachusetts General Laws, in case anybody wants to read that. What the residential factor means is, 1 means that there would be one single tax rate for the residential, the commercial, industrial, and personal property classes in the town. If they wanted to, they could, vote a different factor where they would shift the tax burden. Right now, our percent, 96.2% is residential and 3.8 is commercial, industrial, and personal. So it doesn't make a lot of sense at this time with that disparity between the different classes of property, where it would shift burden and give a tax break to others. The other is the residential exemption. That is something that the selectmen may vote to adopt by giving the homeowners that live in their property a tax exemption, and the burden would fall on the other residential properties. There is a small commercial exemption, but again, 1.2% of the properties are in the commercial class, so it really doesn't really benefit them that much. If there was more, maybe. The senior means tested exemption, that's a new one last year. So again, we have to vote on that this year. And that requires a town meeting vote to accept this exemption. And then we have to contact our senator or our representative and create a bill that the state legislative would vote on. It's a complicated exemption, and it does take a lot of work to get something like that accomplished. What that exemption could do is grant anywhere from 50% to 100% of the tax bill. I'm not so sure, being such a small community, that is something that would be beneficial. I think we have regular tax exemptions and we have tax deferral process. So unless we want to make a change, and we can look into it if the selectmen would like to, I think that you shouldn't adopt that. The open space discount, we have no class of property in town that is open space, that means that it's private property that has been made to be open for public use. And unless somebody from the public wants to donate some of their property for that kind of use, there's no need to adopt it because we don't have that class of property. And so if anybody has a question other than, yes, I think that the excess levy capacity might be off by a penny. Josh, I think it was $4,138.65, not 66 cents.
Okay.
Okay.
Sheila, are there any exemptions for homeowners who have large open space tracts of land, but have agreed or not agreed, but have made the decision not to build on it?
No, except for Wharf Street, we do have and Nahant Road, I think, Costin and Halls, they kind of abut each other. Their property is in a federal program of open space, but it's not in our town criteria.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, but no one has come forward to ask or donate their property as open space. And I'm not so sure, I didn't double check. There may be a minimum requirement of acreage.
Thank you.
The excess level capacity of 4,138.65 is a product of what our tax rate is going to be, and if you could talk to that and how that compares to last year and how we compare to other communities as far as going through this process.
Yeah, well, this year being $4,138.65. Last year was over $10,000. And what that means is in the levy limit, the maximum amount of levy, we're just short this $4,138.65. And we can't get to, zero. Not yet anyway. But it changes, and it's just a multiplication because of the mathematics of the percentage of all our classes of property and how we have to get to a single tax rate. There's not much else you can do other than, as if Allison's on, you can talk about playing with the, it's a product of overlay and estimated receipts.
But if our tax rate went up, even 1 penny, we would end up being over our levy capacity and therefore in violation of the 2.5%. Right. So this is high. So our tax, is as high as it possibly can go, even though we're leaving about $4,100 on the table. And what's our tax rate going to be?
$9.07.
And what was it last year?
Last year was $9.09. So we're only down 2 cents.
So we're down 2 cents, which means values went up a little bit. Last year we were the lowest in Essex County. So I assume we're probably going to be the lowest in Essex County again this year.
I would say.
And you mentioned at our department head meeting the other day that, we're fairly early in the process. Could you repeat that?
Or even better, I think that we're on time for being a semi-annual community and that we should be getting our tax bills out October 1st. But this year, that's a Sunday. So the tax bills look like, with the approval process and, printing of the bills and the mailing, they should go out Monday, October the 2nd, due and payable November the 1st.
And we're the first community to have our tax rate set in Essex County?
Yep.
And what, like the 8th in the whole state?
Yep, as of Monday. Yep, we'll be about the 8th.
So the reason I asked those questions and wanted to make those points is that the assessor's office and through Sheila's leadership, as well as the finance department, through Allison, Nieto, and Ed Law. They came together, we met as a group, over a month ago and talked about, the process to get to tonight and so that we could get bills out, October 1st to the 2nd. The last few years, bills have gone out the early November, which is tough on residents because then the bills are due at the end of November, early December. And that's right when people are starting to shop for Christmas and, it could be an expensive time of year. So we really, it was a goal set by us earlier in the year that we would get bills, tax bills out early, on time in early October this year. And so I asked those questions to Sheila because I wanted to commend her, the Board of Assessors, and the finance team for all their help and commitment to sticking to that goal. And that's why we're, having our tax classification hearing tonight so that we can stay on that schedule and get those bills out on time.
Thank you.
Hey, Sheila, a question, maybe I missed this, but I have to ask the question, what's a senior means tested exemption?
That is an exemption that the town can adopt at town meeting. And it's criteria that the town would create. So, based upon, talking again with the finance team, Allison, because it would affect overlay, Tony, the Board of Selectmen, the Board of Assessors on what kind of age limit, what would be the asset limit, what would be the income limit, how many years residents do you have to be? So you'd have to create all of the criteria ahead of time. You have to bring it to town meeting. Town meeting has to vote for it, and that the exemption amount can be anywhere from 50% to 100%. So, so that's different. And then once we get town meeting vote, then we'd have to go to our state senator and representative, and they'd create a bill that would be passed by the legislator so that we can adopt that particular exemption. But as I stated, I do have exemptions for the elderly, and I also we have a tax deferral program. So I think that when we just raise the amounts, and I think it's a fair amount and it helps everybody. We also have veterans exemptions too, but I'm talking just the elderly.
Thank you, and thank you, all you guys, for the great job you do.
Thank you.
Outstanding.
Okay, so now I think the board can vote on their factor and all their, what they're gonna do with all the exemptions.
All right, just one,
If there's any other
one more
questions.
point. So all these, the residential factor and all the exemption declines, and open space discount, all that is unchanged from the past few years, correct?
Oh,
For the-
Been unchanged forever, I think,
Yeah,
at least 40.
yeah, so I just wanted to make that point. So essentially, we're making no change at all in the structure. All right, any discussion from you, Gene?
No, I'm fine.
All right, roll call vote.
Gene Canty, aye.
Josh Antrim, aye. The next one is voting on liens.
Nope, you can first
Oh,
close the tax classification hearing.
thank you. Yes, thank you. I move the Board of Selectmen vote to close the FY24
Before you-
tax classification hearing.
Do we have to open it? Is this, it being a hearing, do we have to open it up for comment? Dan,
I'll be right back.
Yes, it's a hearing, so we should at least give the public a chance to offer any input they may have.
All right, well, if anybody wants to ask a question or make a comment, you can unmute yourself on your screen. Raise your hand if you know how to do it, so we can know to call on you. And failing ability to unmute, you could put something in the chat.
Back.
All right. I don't see anybody unmuting themselves. So with that, I'll assume there are no questions or comments from the public during this hearing. And so roll call vote on the motion to close the hearing.
Gene Canty, aye.
Josh Antrim, aye. Okay.
Board of Assessors vote on the motion to close. David Hunt, aye.
Catherine Sherber, I.
Town Assessor Sheila Hamilton, aye.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you.
Moving forward on getting the tax rate approved now. Thank you. Thank you very
Good
much.
work. Good
Thanks,
work.
Sheila.
Thank you. Good work.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to new business, where you have to take a vote on liens for unpaid water and sewer bills. I think there were some unpaid trash bills, and so on too. So let me, Kristen had emailed a new motion with the amount filled in, so let me just open that.
I have it as well.
Let's see. Second. Here we go. Okay, I'll make the motion, Gene. I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to approve committing to the Board of Assessors unpaid FY23 unpaid utility and rubbish accounts in the amount of $105,818.60 as presented by the treasurer collector to be added to the annual tax as a municipal charges in lien to be subject to the provisions of the law relative to interest on taxes.
Seconded.
Discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Tony.
This is a pretty good number. Last year it was around 80,000, but it was also a month later.
Yeah,
The Ed and the finance team did a really good job of sending late bills out earlier back in July. And then even this week, they were actually, making phone calls to folks on the list. We also put it out there on the message board. And a lot of people came in because of those efforts to avoid lien. So I just wanted to also commend them on their efforts and commend the residents for paying their utility bills, because this is a pretty low number, given that we're a month earlier in the process.
yeah, that's good. Yeah, still a low number, but still 131 people with some outstanding bills. So those will be applied to their taxes, I guess. All right, I didn't have any other discussion on that. Did you, Gene?
No.
All right. With that, a roll call vote.
Gene Canty, aye.
Josh Antrim, aye. Next, we have a vote to approve some requests. I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the annual PTO Halloween Bash for October 21st, 2023, starting at 2 p.m. at the Little League Field.
Seconded.
Okay, this is an annual event hosted by the Johnson School PTO and volunteers. The event will take place at the Nahant Little League Babe Ruth Field and in the parking lot. Events include hay rides, games, trunk or treat in the parking lot, haunted house, a DJ, food, and more. This event is open to all.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, sounds good. Any other discussion, Gene?
No,
Roll call vote.
Gene Canty, aye.
Josh Antrim, aye. There it is.
Meeting minutes.
Yep, I move the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the Board of Selectmen meeting minutes from June 28th, 2023, July 19th, 2023, and August 2nd, 2023.
Seconded,
Any discussion?
none.
Roll call vote.
Gene Canty, aye.
Josh Antrim, aye. Okay, moving on to ongoing business. We have a one-day liquor license application. I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to approve a one-day wine and malt liquor license to the Nahant Village Church, 27 Cliff Street, Nahant, Mass. 01908 for Saturday, September 30th, 2023, for a concert from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. with
Seconded,
okay. This event's being organized by Jen McCarthy. I see Jen's on the call. Brett Henry will be catering and serving and supplying the food and alcohol for the event. Jen, did you want to say some words?
before Jen responds, if she responds, did we get that right? 5 to 7 with? Was there something added? to
Yeah, it
that,
seemed to be
Tony?
truncated in my copy of the motions.
Okay,
And Jen, we can't hear you for some reason. No. Is Ayla Brown, is that what we're missing in that? Is it Ayla Brown that's gonna be performing?
Okay,
Shaking her head, yes.
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, so Ayla Brown will be performing, I think, with someone else, possibly her husband. Ayla Brown is the daughter of former Massachusetts Senator Scott Brown. I think she was on American Idol or one of those type shows. Okay, and that's what I know about Ayla Brown.
Pretty
But
lucky to have her.
should be a nice event.
And in the chat, Jen said there'll be wine and appetizers between 5 and 7 p.m.
excellent.
Sounds great. Okay, any further discussion on this
None.
application? Roll call vote.
Gene Canty, aye.
Josh Antrim, aye. Next on the agenda is Town Administrator Goals Update. I think for the detailed discussion, it would be best to wait for Mark Cullinan to join us because A, he's 1/3 of the board, and B, he's the chairman of the board. But maybe we can talk just briefly, explain how this process has been working. We gave a set of goals to Mr. Barletta for 2022, 2023. At the end of 2023, fiscal year 2023, Tony submitted his thoughts on how he did versus those goals. And then each of the selectmen took those goals and graded Tony on how he did versus those goals. The grades choices being needs improvement, meets expectations, and exceeds expectations, and that accompanying that with a brief explanation of the ranking. So each of us selectmen have gone through, assessed how Tony did versus his 2023 goals, and turned those in. And Kristen Taylor's compiling them together. And at the next meeting when Mark's there, or next meeting that we're all present, we can go through those. How that worked out. And the second action that we have done is provide a new set of goals for the 2023-2024 years. Some of them, at least in the case of what I submitted, were ongoing. I think most of us probably had some of those that are ongoing. Some of them evolved. For example, one goal was to get the secure funding for the housing production plan at town meeting. That was accomplished. So that goal, in my case, morphed into assist the housing production plan subcommittee as the new goal. So an evolution of the goal. And then some of them went away in my case, and a new important goal was added. So that's how I approached it. And I think at the next meeting, if we're all there, all those things will be compiled, and we can kind of go through the new goals. That's all I had to say, Gene. I don't know if you had anything to add.
No, I did pretty much the same thing that you've done. The only thing that I was missing is, or am missing, is I didn't realize we were going new goals until we had reviewed and established the
Oh, I
time
see.
frame for the old goals.
Yeah, okay, so maybe over the next week or so we can not, well,
I'll
Let's
put
say-
together, I'll put, like you, I'll put together the new goals. But Tony, did we, or Josh, did we talk about a time frame for the goals that are outstanding? Or did we leave that out?
we left it out, but we can, do you mean like due dates essentially, or?
Yeah,
I guess implicit would be within the year, but maybe it's better to be explicit. So maybe we should do that. The way we've done this the last couple years is each selectman submitted their goals, through the TA, and I volunteered to compile them into one, because one set with the contributions from each, and I can do that again if that's agreeable to you and Selectman Colin and Jean.
well, we could take an umbrella that we could make it presumptively, we could make it so that everything that we talk about at the next meeting in terms of goals and objectives would have a 1-year time frame from that point on. That's just a thought.
Yeah,
But then you've got some goals in there that are already asking for 3-year or 5-year time frames, 5-year plans that would work themselves out over that period of time, and maybe 1 year has already gone by, if you know what I'm saying.
yeah. Well, maybe I'll go through them and see what makes sense for applicable dates or deadlines with that in mind, and resubmit, and maybe Kristen can compile them into a master list for us, something like that.
I'm just looking at one of them here, review with the Board of Selectmen, a 5-year financial forecast. So, that's in there already.
Yeah,
We've established 5 years. We're talking about it now. We'll revisit it as each year goes by.
yeah. So that, and sometimes it's good to say, pick a date for that, in December, we'll review that. And the reason I say that is sometimes if it just says review it and there's no date, then it takes one of us going back and looking at it and say, this never happened, let's schedule it. So I actually did that in one of the existing goals, which was for providing status of CPC funded projects. But we didn't say how frequently or when. So I picked 3 months and said, so it's essentially every 4 months. How's it going? Just run through the list and tell us how it's going. That's as an example where I picked a particular month to make it sort of get it on the calendar, so to speak. So maybe we both want to take ours back and think about where we might want to put schedule requirements, and then we submit them to Kristen. How's that sound?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Okay. All right, let's do that. Anything else on the
Tony,
TA
you,
goals?
Yeah, it sounds, that's helpful to me too. So I'm in favor of that.
all right, so we can go through that. Go ahead, Josh. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, that's all I had to say on the TA goals updates for today.
All right, great.
Next on the agenda is preserving East Point. So on Friday, September 15th, Nahant served a motion for summary judgment on the eminent domain validity case. Simultaneously, Northeastern filed their motion for against summary judgment, I guess it would be. The documents get exchanged. Both parties have several weeks to provide some kind of responses and so on. And then by early November, all the files are officially served with the court. The Judge Carp will likely hold a briefing sometime before Thanksgiving. And he'll set a hearing date. Our attorney seemed to think that hearing date might be before Christmas, in December. That is sort of, from what our attorney explained, it would be kind of a quick, short interval between the briefing and the hearing. And that's because this judge is quite familiar with the case and has a lot of background already. So given that background, he might set this hearing date sooner rather than later. And then if so, within the first 60 days of next year, Judge Carp would likely make his judgment on this phase. So far, our attorneys, there have been no surprises really. So that's the status of the eminent domain case.
Okay,
Any questions or comments or anything, Gene or Tony?
not on East Point, no.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is the town administrator's report. Tony, you want to take it away?
Yes, our special town meeting recap, we held a special town meeting and related to the Coast Guard housing demolition project. And I just want to thank, everyone that attended the meeting. We had a full house and it was great to see so many people show up for such an important meeting on a Tuesday night in September. It was good that, such an important issue, rose to a level where so many people came and attended that meeting, and there were a lot of great questions asked, and I think we had a lot of good discussion, and ultimately the vote passed by a 2/3 majority. So I spoke with, or I reached out to American Environmental and Vicky Masson, who's our project manager. They're initiating the contracting process, and we're hoping to schedule a pre-construction meeting on site in the next couple weeks. Likely I'll have DPW, police and fire join us for that. Just so, we're, fully aware of, what to expect and, try to minimize impacts to the neighborhood and, trucking in and out of town, that sort of thing. So we're moving forward with that process now.
Good.
Hurricane Lee recap. We dodged a bullet there. Luckily, it was just some good wind, but not a lot of storm surge, not a lot of rain. Luckily, that bumped out. But we had a very productive pre-storm prep meeting with emergency management. I got my hats off to Chief Furlong as our emergency management director, his team, Chief Antrim, Zach Taylor, Rob Tibbo, our harbor master. Our public health nurse was there. Members of the board were there. When these events start threatening our community, that group of people don't take it lightly. And afterwards it's like, hey, that was a nothing type storm, but we're happy to be over prepared and for nothing to happen. So I just want to recognize their efforts, and hopefully we get lucky like that for the rest of the hurricane season.
If
That
I
was good
could,
to see.
Tony, if I could, just a quick comment. The meeting, the emergency management meeting was so well done that we couldn't have been any better prepared for that storm had it landed than we were. And as you said, my hat's off to whoever put it together and how it came together. That's great.
Yeah, appreciate seeing the proactive approach rather than the reactive approach to the storm. So I think that's definitely progress over the last few years for sure.
They can do it with their eyes closed. They've done it so many times now, and but it's still, there's still so much, every single storm is unique, depending on the direction that it's coming from, the direction of the wind speeds, what time it's going to hit us, what the high tides look like in comparison to that, the temperature of the water, the temperature of the air. Luckily, this type of storm, we're not dealing with, sometimes we're also dealing with a snowstorm at the same time. So, the same folks at the DPW that are helping react to flooding are also plowing the roads. So this was kind of a straight up hurricane storm to prep for, but those types of meetings, we do them every single time because every single storm is unique. So hats off to them. Great job by them. The other thing in my report here is the Little Nahant Playground. Our 2 new pieces of equipment were delivered this week and installed. Our DPW is doing a great job there. Thank you to G&J Towing for helping us out with the unload. The next steps are to install. They've already poured the footings for the new benches that are going to be put there. Those benches were memorial benches, so we were able to save the memorial plaques from the old benches and transfer them to the new ones. New surface, new sand is going to be laid down, some other items as well, and edging along the playground, but it's coming along, and we're excited to have the new pieces in town, and that is funded primarily by Community Preservation Act, which is such that's where you really see how valuable that program is and how valuable that money is, because it allows us to do projects like that that's in the want category, not so much a need, like a broken sewer pipe or critical infrastructure. that's where that program comes into play, and it just does wonders for our community. So
I think the match, the state match on that CPC grant that year was like close to 100%. So almost $1 for every, like 96 cents for every dollar we paid for. So excellent program.
That's right.
When do you think it'll be done, Tony, the playground?
Depending on weather and other, I think we only have like one more cut across the town as far as landscaping goes, which we really desperately needs. But the grass is finally starting to slow down, which really takes a lot of our man hours away from projects like that and into other, routine operations. So I'm hoping we're looking at a ribbon cutting next week or maybe the week after.
Great. Yeah. It looks cool.
Yeah, it's exciting. I didn't even know that those pieces of equipment were coming from Colorado, and the husband and wife who actually delivered them to town said that they were stopped, every mile along the way by people, seeing the whale and seeing the shipwreck and wondering where they were going, so she said she was going to write like a little storybook about, how the humpback whale from Colorado found its way to Nahant, Massachusetts. So I said, well, it's awesome. Send it to me when you're done.
Yeah, cool.
The other couple things I just wanted to mention is we made some significant progress today in our sewer capital needs. So our public bid for our bid documents for the Wardrobe Pump Station went live today. The pre-bid meeting is going to be September 27th. Filed sub-bids will be due October 11th, and then general sub-bids are due October 18th. So that's a huge project that went out on the street today, and we were able to get it designed and through the DEP technical review in a timely fashion, according to the required schedule under the SRF program. So that was a big accomplishment. And we also put out to bid the II work, which is the gravity sewer repair work, which is a required work through our ACOP from DEP. That is going to be those bids are going to be due on October 4th. So between the pump station, which is estimated somewhere around $6 million, and the II work is estimated somewhere around 1.5. We put about $8 million worth of capital work out to bid today, which is a significant step in our capital goals. So
Yeah,
didn't have that on the agenda, but it just went out today, so wanted to mention it.
Yeah, no, that's great. The two biggest capital infrastructure projects we've had in quite a while. It was the Linway Force Main relining, which is complete, thankfully, and then the Wardrobe Pump Station. So getting after it on these big projects, and the I&I is a big project unto itself, as you pointed out, Tony. So yeah, good to see us getting after these long-term needs.
Those were taking up a lot of time, making sure that because that SRF program had such strict deadlines, we really had to prioritize those projects because they're funded through that program. Now that those are on the street, we're going to focus on the water and stormwater repair work, water infrastructure, which is Fox Hill Road and Emerald Road, and then stormwater improvements in the lowlands area. Those are going to go out as one bid as well. obviously we're gonna start, the construction process of the Coast Guard housing demolition. And then we have Flash Road, pickleball work, lighting to do. And we also have the flagpole at the town hall is kind of those two things are next on the list. And simultaneously, we're still working through a number of other capital things. I met with FEMA today. We have or MEMA today on a weekly progress, our bi-weekly progress meetings, and we're working on, our Short Beach Dune over by Little Nahant, as well as, some other capital needs like the ADA ramp at the town hall, and trying to figure out what our best plan forward is for the arch work at the cemetery. So there's still a lot of projects that, luckily we have the funding, or, at least a good portion of the funding. The COA kitchen's another one. So a lot of different things in the hopper, but, these two were major, and, making sure we met those deadlines by the SRF program was important.
Yeah, good.
That's all I have for my report.
All right. So next on the agenda is citizens forum.
Can I
So if
just,
there's any-
Josh, can I sneak
yeah.
one thing in there? Tony and Josh, yourself too. I received a request from Linda Jenkins to be put on the agenda tonight. I don't know if anybody received it. And it's for an event that the library is intending on running in October, and I believe they're looking to use the town hall. My question is, did we receive that, or did you guys get a copy?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll deal with that next meeting.
Likely, but I spoke with, so that's an event on behalf of the library trustees, and I spoke with Ann Spurn 2 days ago, and I told her, the date is available. We just have to finalize the paperwork, as far as them being able to begin the process of, getting their ducks in a row and advertising and things of that nature. They can go ahead and do that. It's just a matter of getting some more paperwork settled up before I put it in front of you guys for approval. But I don't see any issue with them getting started on working through that.
And thanks for the follow-up on that, Tony.
Yep.
All right. Anything else, Gene or
No,
Tony?
I'm good. Thank
All
you.
right. Let's open citizens forum. If you have any questions or comments, unmute yourself. Raise your hand in the Zoom meeting if you know how. That's
Go
one
ahead,
way to
Jen.
raise your hand, Jen. Yeah.
Just,
Go
your
ahead,
name and
Jen.
address.
All right, I think you can hear me now. I switched to my cell
Yes.
phone. Okay, good. Everything for the Ayla Brown concert was right. And I just want to say there's still tickets available for that. If anybody is interested, they can reach out to me or call the church. It should be a great night.
Jen, can you just state your name and address for the record as well?
Sure. Jennifer McCarthy, 19 Range Road.
Thank you.
Okay. And then the main reason I wanted to talk during the Citizens Forum is I sent emails out to all of you. I do live across from the Bayside, and there has been a change in ownership of the actual building and the functions. And there has been several problems there. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tony was so still, I didn't know if I was frozen.
I'm taking notes.
So most recently was this past Friday night. I woke up around 10 o'clock. I'm a teacher, so it was our first full week of teaching. So I have teacher tiredness on Friday nights and was sound asleep by 7:30. And at 10 o'clock, noise woke me up, and I was fine with that. I'm like, it's 10 o'clock. They're having a party. I bought a house across from a function hall. I expect to hear noise. And then I fell back to sleep, and at about 20 of 1, there were cars out there beeping their horns, blaring music, People were outside screaming and singing. There was one car that was like revving its engine. It was like a sports car. And then it was driving down Range Road, going back into the Bayside parking lot, holding a huge flag out the window. And it was just like a free-for-all out there. And so I'm curious as to what are our bylaws for these function halls and what time their parties are supposed to end?
Well, first of all, I received, I think all of us received your email, Jen, and including the video. Doesn't sound great. We're looking into that. I know there's been some conversation with the chief and so on. As far as when the events, I think all the liquor licenses go to 1 a.m. Is that right, Tony? Do you remember, or Dan?
They do. Their Sunday time might be earlier. It might be 10, but for a Friday night, it would have been 1 p.m.
1 a.m.?
I'm sorry, yeah, 1 a.m.
Okay, and I was told, I did check with the police. They said there was a detail police officer on site until 1. And I love our police. They are so responsive. They're wonderful. But I have to wonder, what was the police officer doing that was running the detail? Because obviously the party was outside in the parking lot and not inside. So, I would just question what was going on there with the detail. And again, nothing against our police. I love our police department. They help so many people. They've helped me so many times. But, I asked when I went to the police station to find out if there was a detail. They said, oh, yes. And I said, well, they didn't have any issues with the noise or the horns or the car revving. And they said, oh, he must have been inside, which I don't know. I have a problem with that. So I don't know if protocol or whatever could be reviewed as to what's actually supposed to be going.
Yep,
Well,
okay.
so
Well, thanks.
if I can, if you like me to comment on it, Josh, since so there was one previous event that Jen, you had reported to us,
Mhm.
and at that time, we spoke with the owner of the property, and since then they've required that not only there be a detail, but that they hire their own security as well.
Mhm.
So that was an improvement. This is the second event that I know of that's occurred. And I followed up with the chief of police. I also followed up with the owner once again. There was a detail. They were inside the function hall because they were helping clear the party out. And as soon as you called the police department, the detail officer was called. And by the time they came outside, those cars had been gone.
Okay.
So, it's obviously, it's much, it's harder to hear what's going on outside when you're standing in a function hall trying to clear it out versus when you're in your house, and there's no other noise. You're waking up, you had a nice quiet scenario, except for what was happening outside at the time. So they didn't hear it on their own. But as soon as they came outside, they had dispersed. But I'll tell you that the owner of the property informed me that of his intentions to, have a community meeting with the abutters in the area, to talk about some of the issues that have happened. He said that he's already spoken with the lessee and that there may be some changes occurring to help prevent those things from happening in the future. So I would keep an eye out. I think that's going to happen soon. But I think progress is starting already too.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Jen. Brendan?
Brendan Veronica Olmsted, 2 Summer Street. General question. I've been on the weekends. When I've been coming back from the store, I've been noticing about 4 or 5 street lights between Little Nahant and Seaside Variety Store that are on during the daytime. And I was just kind of wondering if that's like a maintenance issue or just something to be looked at later.
You know anything about that, Tony? I don't.
I don't. So it's the neck between Little Nahant and Seaside
And see-
Variety.
Yeah, there's like 2 or 3 of them from Lil Nahant to the Coast Guard Station. Then from Coast Guard Station to Seaside Variety, I think there's another 2. They've been on during the daytime.
What time of day?
Generally this has been like the middle of the afternoon, like like 1 to 3 o'clock.
Maybe the photos, I think most of them are on photo sensor, so maybe the photo sensor is on the fritz or something, so.
That's all I got.
All right.
Did we have any
Thanks, Brendan.
bad weather at that time?
No, this has been all during sunny days, so that like I've seen it as several weekends in a row.
Yeah, okay.
All right, thanks,
We'll look
Brendan.
into it.
Michelle?
Michelle Capano, 29 Ocean Street. Just to follow up on Brendan's comment, we had a similar situation on Ocean Street where the street light in front of my house was on all day. I did report it to Mary Lowe at Town Hall, and within a month, the company came out and serviced them. So I guess the question is, and to Brendan's point, I recently noticed it as well. Is it something to, let residents know to report them if they're seeing them running on all day? We're paying, the taxpayers paying the electric bill. So we want to make sure that the timers are operating properly.
Yeah, there's a,
That makes sense.
on nahant.org, there's a report. Let me look at it. Let me look real quick where it is. So we have something set up right on the website. It's very easy to report it.
Thank you.
Let's see.
Is calling Mary Lowe,
Oh,
is that also a reasonable alternative, Tony, here?
Yeah, always calling the town hall and pushing the button for Public Works and talking with Mary Lowe is always an option. We also have, I'll just show the Nahant home screen here. Right here, this is the home screen on nahant.org. Right here under helpful link, what can we help you with? Right in the middle of the page under Public Works, there's a streetlight service request link right there.
Great. All
That
right, so
works.
those are 2 things that people can do, Michelle. That'd be helpful if the town hall's notified. Anyone else? Or anything in the chat, Tony?
The light on Nahant and Ocean have been on all day, all summer. So at the intersection of Nahant and Ocean Street, is that the same one that you're talking about, Michelle? Or was it
I think she's,
down?
no, it's not the same one. There's one like almost right in front of Michelle's house, and then that one you just described was essentially in front of Mark Cullinan's house.
Yeah, so that's a new one, the one in front of Mark's house, but this was in front of my house, which has already been resolved. So, but for my situation, I had just emailed Mary directly and she was very helpful.
Okay.
It just took about a month for the company to come out, which she had told me when she responded. But knowing now that you showed where the form is, I think that's excellent. If residents see other lights in town on during the day, they should report them.
Yeah, and it is going to be like a month because we have them come out. We try to we don't have them come out for just one issue. We try to have them come out for a bulk number of issues just for, cost savings. So usually that's about a month.
Thank you. Very helpful.
All right. Thanks, Michelle and Brendan, for bringing that up. Anything else? Anybody else want to unmute themselves or enter something into the chat? Anything in the chat, Tony?
No.
All right. Well, unless there's anything else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn, Gene.
Motion for adjournment.
Seconded. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none. Roll call vote.
Gene Canty, aye.
Josh Antrim, aye. Thank you, everyone.
Good night,
See you
all.
next time.
Right.